Hi everyone, this video is on Spreadsheet. It is a recap of your topic from Microsoft Excel. In Microsoft Excel, there's many rows and columns, and we remember by this diagram here, for rows it goes horizontal and for columns are vertical. And for columns, they are named after letters and rows are named by numbers. As you can see in my diagram here, column B has been selected and row 2 has been selected. Okay, and this intersection here between column B and row 2 is named a cell, and the cell will be called B2. The cell that I was referring to is shown here. It is B2. You can see the name shown in the box here. Okay, so it has a cell. It's made up of many cells in one spreadsheet, and a cell is a space formed by intersection of one row and one column. It has an address, and B2 is the address. Sometimes it's also known as the cell reference. Okay, other addresses will be like A1, D15, and if we want a group of cells from B2 until D7, we will write it in this way, B2 to B7, just like in ratio, and it's called cell range. Labels is a text in a cell, and it acts like a heading to what you want to write below it or beside it. So the headings that you can see here, which are called labels, are January expenses, February expenses, and money total. These are all labels. Next, we go to recap on functions and formula. We use functions and formula to perform calculations in Microsoft Excel, and make sure we have an equal sign in front of our function or formula. Now the difference between functions is it is already an assigned name that is recognized by Microsoft Excel. For example, equal sum, equal average, equal mean, and equal max. If we assume that the cell range is A1 to A9, then the cell range must be placed inside the brackets of every single function. The only two functions that are spelled in full are sum and average. The ones that is spelled in shortcuts is minimum, otherwise known as mean, or max, otherwise known as maximum. Okay, so what does it do? Sum will add up all the numbers that you select. Average is to do an average of all the numbers. Minimum will be the smallest value, and maximum will find you the largest value. Now, formula uses math operators. Unlike functions that uses assigned names like sum and average, formula uses plus, minus, times, divide. And for times and divide, you must use the asterisk sign as well as the slash to represent divide. Now this diagram here or graphic here is to show you the difference between function and formula. The difference, as you can see, there's times and there's divide, there's operators that are being used here. And for functions, you can see that the assigned name, sum, average, mean, and max are used, and cell range must be inside the function. What is relative cell addressing? In relative cell addressing, we want the cell addresses in formulas to change for each new row of data. So if we were to put the function equal sum bracket B5 to E5 in the cell F5, then we click and drag down this function to all other cells F6, F7, F8, and F9. The numbers B5 will automatically change to B6, B7, B8, B9. This is known as relative cell addressing. So we want it to change because it will help us simplify our task. The difference between data and formula views. For formula view, we can see the formula that is being used. And this is very helpful because sometimes we need to check whether our calculations is wrong due to a wrong formula or wrong functions that is used. Also, we can see how the different cells are linked together by a formula or function. Once it's in the data view, we will see the final answer. So to display the formulas, we must press on the keyboard the keys Control and tilde. Tilde is beside the number 1 on your keyboard. Lastly, for print area, we can indicate what cells we want to print by selecting the range of cells. In this case, we chose A2 all the way to D12 to select the range of cells to print. Now I've come to a step-by-step example which I'm going to use a Microsoft Excel to show you how different basics of the Microsoft Excel spreadsheet will come together to create a library loan record. As you can see on my screen now, it is Microsoft Excel and it is a loan record of One Direction Secondary School. So it has the labels, class, January, February, March, April, May, average total. All labels will be filled with yellow color. As you can see, there's not enough space in the cell for grand total, so I'm going to enlarge the space. I'll go between the cells, the columns G and H, and double click. Now there's enough space for the words grand total to fill up G17. For the title, I'll be merging from A1 to H1, and I'll do a merge and center. Under home, there's merge and center, so I'll click and it should go to the center and all the cells are merged, leaving this big cell known as A1. Now I'm going to use the function for average. I'm going to enter equal average, open brackets, and I'm going to choose this cell range B4 to F4 using my mouse to drag and click. Now I'm going to go back to G4. Look at the bottom right cross, black cross, and I will click and drag to the cells that I want to copy the formula to. And I'll let go. Now, is there cell referencing, relative cell referencing going on? Let me check. Control tilde. Yes, B4 has changed to B5 and so on. F4 have changed to F5, F6 and so on. So there has been relative cell addressing taking place. I press Control tilde to get back to the data view. Now I'm going to use, for total, I'm going to use equal sum, open brackets, and sum up January to May. I click and drag my mouse in this case, type in close bracket and press enter to end the function. Click back on H4, click on the bottom right cross and drag down and let go of my mouse. As you can see, checking on the last function, B15 to F15, there's relative cell addressing that took place to copy the formula down the column. For grand total, I'll be using equal sum of the subtotal from different classes, click and drag and close it with a bracket and press enter. 2700 is the grand total. And for the highest, because I want the maximum out of the total, I'll be using equal max, open brackets, choosing from this range, cell range, H4 to H15, close brackets, and enter. It should return me the number 319. As you can check quickly, 319 is actually the highest number within this cell range. And for the lowest, it's going to be equal, minimum, but in this case, only need to type min, open brackets, select this cell range again, H4 to H15, close bracket, and press enter. The lowest is 159. In this example, we have not used any formula at all. All we have used are all functions.